Now let me talk about the law of diminishing marginality. Law of diminishing marginality is based on the cardinal concept of utility. So let me write it down. Law of diminishing marginality. It is based on the cardinal concept of utility. So we can say it's based on the marginality analysis. But before explaining this law, let me talk a bit about a consumption of a particular commodity, how the consume what this law actually says. Say for example, I'm consuming the quantity of apples I'm given. So I started consuming the apples 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11. Shift a bit. Now let me talk about total utility here. Say for example the total utility is equal to 30, then I have 50, then I have 65, then I have 75, then I have 83, then I have, say for example, 89, then let me take it as 93, let me take it as 96, let me take it as 98, then 98, 99, and let me take it as 95. Now let me talk about this first, and then we'll make up the marginality section of this table. Now firstly, total utility. Now total utility is simply the additional utility. Total utility is simply the addition of all the utilities derived from the different units of the commodity. So we can say the addition of addition of individual utilities. Now if I'm consuming 1 unit, I'm deriving 30 units of satisfaction. When I'm consuming 2, I'm deriving 50 units of satisfaction, which means that by the consumption of 2 units together, I'm deriving 50 units of the satisfaction. Similar logic here, by consuming 3 units of commodity, I'm deriving 65 units of the satisfaction. Now let me talk about the marginal utility. Marginality is simply the addition made to total utility by the additional consumption of a commodity. So I can say that marginal utility is equal to change in total utility with the change in consumption of one more commodity. So let me talk about this concept. Now how do we actually determine this marginal utility? Now suppose I am consuming one more commodity. The first one is 30 only. So by consuming one additional unit of a commodity, I'm deriving an additional 20 units of the satisfaction, which means the marginal utility is 20 over here. Now moving on, by consuming one additional unit of a consumption, I'm deriving 15 more units of the satisfaction. So similarly here, by adding one more, moving from 3 to 4, I'm deriving some 10 units of satisfaction. Moving from 4 to 5, I'm deriving some 8 units of the satisfaction, 8 additional units of the satisfaction. Moving from 5 to 6, I'm deriving some additional unit of satisfaction, that is equal to 6. Now moving from 6 to 7, I'm deriving again more units of satisfaction, that is equal to 4. Moving from 7 to 8, I'm deriving some additional units of satisfaction, and that satisfaction is equal to 3. Moving from 8 to 9, I'm deriving some additional units of satisfaction, that is equal to 2. Now moving from 9 to 10, I'm deriving one additional unit of satisfaction. Now the very important here, moving from 10 to 11, my satisfaction is reducing, that is minus 4. Let me take this as 98 only, so this will become 0. I'm taking this as 98 only. So this will become 0. Now let me talk about some of the concept relationship between total utility and marginal utility. Now see, one of the important concepts that we need to see over here, as we see the total utility is rising, continuously rising from 30, 50, 65, 75, 83, 89, 93, 96 and 98 until it reaches up to the 98, and then it starts diminishing. So the total utility keeps on rising from this part and continuously up to this part. So this whole part in this table shows that total utility keeps on rising as we keep on adding the commodities into the into the consumer's consumption. So the first thing we see, as the total utility rises, what happens to this marginal utility? Marginal utility keeps on falling. If you see here, up to a time it becomes 0, it keeps on falling. So the first point is that when total utility rises, marginal utility becomes 0. When total utility rises, marginal utility falls. Sorry. Second point. Now see here, when total utility is maximum, it's 98 over here, marginal utility is 0. So now the second point, when total utility is maximum, marginal utility is 0. Now when total utility falls, if you see here, the total utility is falling from 98 to 95, marginal utility becomes negative. The third point is that when total utility falls, marginal utility becomes negative. So there are three types of the relationship that this table tells us. Firstly, when total utility rises, marginal utility falls. When total utility is maximum, marginal utility is equal to 0. When total utility becomes negative, marginal utility, so when total utility falls, marginal utility becomes negative. So the three relations: when total utility rises, marginal utility falls. When total utility is maximum, marginal utility is 0. When total utility falls, marginal utility becomes negative.